Number 10. Kim's nannies. Kim Kardashian is arguably one of the most famous of the Kardashian sisters, and it would also seem she's the busiest. For example, Kim has 4 kids, a skincare line, her Skims brand, she's attending law school, co-founded an equity team, and even recently hopped on the podcast train. In addition to filming her new reality show on Hulu. You may be asking yourself, how does one woman do all of that by herself? Well, she pays people to do it for her, duh. She has multiple assistants and nannies to help her stay above the overwhelming workload, but has been known to treat them as lesser than herself. For instance, on several occasions, Kim and her daughter North would go to lunch, accompanied by a nanny. But Kim would always make her nanny sit at a separate table far away from them when they were in restaurants. But she is known to make her nannies also walk at least like 10 feet away from her at all times. Unless she has multiple nannies with her at once, then she likes to make them stand in like a V formation because it looks cool apparently. If they walk near her or attempt to try and walk side by side, she blows up at them behind closed doors. And needless to say, she has had many nannies over the year and has probably made a lot of them cry at least once. Number 9. Kourtney in general. While Kim may not be the best boss in the world, it's Kourtney who is known as the absolute worst boss of all time. According to former nannies, Kourtney was by far the worst Kardashian to work for. Not only is she a neat freak, needing every single thing to be exactly where it should be, but she's also known for being surprisingly cheap, even once calling a grocery store while she was shopping to compare the prices of a chicken breast. Because, if anyone needs that extra 99 cents, it's Kourtney. But this isn't the worst thing she's done. At one time, Kourtney's daughter had bitten a nanny so hard that she had to quit. But instead of letting it go and taking responsibility for not teaching her daughter how to act properly, she actually berated the nanny and told her that she should have said something to her daughter in the moment. Cause yes, blame the woman that you're paying to raise your child instead of the child itself, who's probably got some kind of an abandonment issue. Number 8. Toxic chemicals. Kylie Jenner is the youngest of the Kardashian clan, and extremely successful for her age. In 2019, she made the cover of Forbes magazine as the youngest self-made billionaire ever, following the successful partnership between her cosmetic brand and Ulta, a beauty salon company, which would allow the brand previously only available online and in random pop-up stores to be placed on shelves in Ulta's 1,000 plus stores. This is unfortunate considering the true nature of just where those products come from. You see, many employees at the factory that mix and package her makeup have reported that they were never given any proper safety equipment that one would require to do that job. They were only given hairnets, lab coats, and safety goggles, leaving their hands and faces completely exposed. And workers would regularly report migraines, mild chemical burns on their hands, and a myriad of other symptoms. If this isn't bad enough, they were also forced to act as human test subjects for Kylie's new products. Now, Kylie was very proud of her company not testing products on animals, but we can agree that using people like guinea pigs is like a billion times worse, right guys? Number 7. The underpay. While the Kardashians have had their problems with staff individually, there seems to be one specifically toxic trait that the family shares as a unit. They don't like to pay people. Former employees have come forward over the years calling out the family for not paying them fair wages or overtime hours. The Kardashians don't cover expenses, meaning gas, food, rent, anything that you need is paid out of pocket, with zero money coming back to you. To make matters worse, the Kardashians wouldn't pay them on a set amount of days, meaning you just kinda got a check when you got a check and had to deal with it in between A and B. You would think with the family being one of the richest in the world that they would at least pay the people that help run their lives. Now, while they have a massive staff of people cooking their food, folding their clothes, and raising their children, they barely even acknowledge their existence. Just imagine what would happen if that staff decided to walk out. The family would crumble in less than a day. Number 6. Factory workers. Popping back to Kylie's makeup factory for a moment, we felt the need to split her misdoings into 2 separate entries simply because of just how messed up this place really is. Not only do they not have proper safety equipment and are basically used as human test subjects whenever Kylie wants, the factory itself is small and cramped, with many employees claiming that there were too many workers and not enough space. This description sounds very similar to, a sweatshop, which is a word describing a workplace in which the employees work ridiculous hours and brutal conditions for nearly nothing for pay. And a lot of people agreed with that statement. One former tester recounts having to constantly go back and forth to the bathroom as her anxiety was always through the roof. She was around so many people so much of her day, and it was such a terrible work environment. We completely understand the need to escape. At one point a few years back, Kylie even refused to pay her employees at a garment factory in Bangladesh, leaving thousands of employees with no money and no idea when or if they were going to return to work. Man, you know what? You suck, Kylie. Number 5. Kourtney Kardashian and Travis Barker. Travis Barker is the drummer of the popular band Blink-182. Travis and Kourtney met after Barker had spent some time with the Kardashian crew at her mom Kris Jenner's house in California. Following the official news of their relationship, many fans were quick to comment on the short time between her relationship with Barker and that of her ex-boo, Luka Sabat. According to Kris herself, Travis and Kourtney began flirting while she was still seeing someone. Their connection was so strong from the beginning, but unfortunately that meant the end of one relationship but the start of a new one too. Kourtney appears to be very happy with the Blink-182 drummer, and Luka doesn't seem to have any issues with them being together, so I guess this is a cheating scandal with a happy ending. For now. Number 4. Kim and Kanye. Kim Kardashian and Kanye West started dating in 2012 and they were officially married 2 years later in 2014. During their marriage, life was rocky to say the least. While Kim was fairly tame for the most part, as we all know, Kanye was slowly having a mental breakdown. He was posting hate speech and racially fueled tweets and constantly sharing his political views as well as publicly backing Donald Trump. Is it really any surprise that Kim found comfort in another man's arms? While hosting Saturday Night Live in 2021, Kim met Pete Davidson, previously mentioned, while still married to Kanye. Kanye discovered that Kim and Pete began dating following the live show, and it seemed to be the final breaking point. Apparently only a few months before the show, Ye and Kim were constantly arguing about everything. And following the divorce, Kim revealed that she would constantly be trying to help Kanye understand why his views and his words were just so wrong. She wanted him to get better, but instead he doubled down and filed for a divorce. Kim is now happily single and received joint custody of her 4 kids, so it's a win-win for the Kardashian clan, and for Kanye, well, Number 3. Tyga and Kylie Jenner. Michael Ray Stevenson, known professionally as Tyga, is an American rap artist with a long list of bops under his belt. In 2011, he was asked to perform at Kendall Jenner's Sweet 16, and her sister Kylie was smitten. The two would keep in contact over the years, but rumors of them being a couple were shot down constantly until 2012, when he broke off his relationship with fiancée Blac Chyna, also a rap artist. It appeared that the split was due to the revelation that Kylie and Tyga were in fact an item. Tyga looked to Twitter to defend his actions, telling people not to believe the rumors. He's been friends with the family forever, they're all just friends. A year later though, they posted a photo on Halloween of themselves wearing a couple's costume, Chucky and the bride of Chucky. A couple of years went by and the pair were constantly seen together on dates, posted several pictures together on Instagram, and Tyga even bought her a Ferrari on her 18th birthday. They eventually split, and Kylie has moved on a couple of times with her next partner, Party Next Door, who is a person, that is a terrible name, even posting a photo on Instagram comparing his watches to Tyga's and claiming that the more diamonds the better. Alright boys, let's not stand around all day comparing watch sizes. Number 2. Kim Kardashian and Ray J. In this case, Kim was the staff that had the affair. You see, herself and the rap artist shared a 3-year relationship, but they met before Kim was famous while she was working as a stylist for his sister Brandy. At the time they met, Kim was still married to Damon Thomas, but apparently wasn't too happy with the relationship. She took part in an affair with Ray J and called it off with Thomas. During their time together, a certain tape was released online without Kim's permission, and the content contained explicit material of herself and Ray J doing the nasty. She sued the company that released it for $5 million to retrieve the rights and own the film. Following the release of the tape, their relationship quickly crumbled, and it was later revealed that both parties were cheating the entire time. And despite them having the knowledge of that, they just, didn't care. They just kept doing it. Number 1. Kris Jenner and Robert Kardashian. Mama Kris Jenner met Robert Kardashian at a horse race in California in 1973, and immediately sparks flew. At that time, Kris was in a committed relationship with Cesar Sonato, a pro golfer. He was often gone so long that there were gaps in their relationship, and Robert filled that gap. Kris began an affair with Robert that lasted for quite some time until one day Cesar returned home early and walked in on the couple doing the no pants dance. Needless to say, Cesar broke it off with Kris right away, but Robert also broke things off with Kris, claiming that she wasn't mature enough for a serious relationship. Yeah, no duh, dude. Robert was basically a mistress. He wasn't much more mature himself. He began dating Elvis Presley's daughter, but that relationship failed too, and Robert ended up returning to Kris's arms. They were married for a little over a decade when Kris proved that she had not matured at all. She took part in another affair, and this time it was with soccer player Todd Waterman. Robert hired private investigators after becoming suspicious of Kris, and he was proven right. So if there's anything to take away from this video is if you think your partner is cheating, you're probably right. People are horrible now.
Coming in at number 10 is Gordon Ramsay. Now, obviously, this doesn't really come as a surprise to anyone, but also in the world of cooking, I don't actually think that Gordon Ramsay is the worst chef out there when it comes to treating his employees like a bunch of schmucks. I don't really need to give examples. If you go and watch almost any of his shows, he has got a no BS policy, and he will call out employees, clients, or hell, kitchen contestants aggressively for their shortcomings and idiocracy. But on the flip side of that, Gordon does reward hard work, stands up to aggressive customers, can be genuinely very nice, and if you've watched any of the kids' cooking shows he works on, you see that he is actually genuinely nice to children. Anytime we have seen Gordon Ramsay lose himself on somebody, it's always been someone that is at a high enough level in their career to know better, or they're at a high enough level that they've dealt with angrier French chefs, like the one who initiated Gordon into his career path in the first place. Number 9. Kendall Jenner. Once upon a time, a TikTok documented story was told by a disgruntled waitress that took place between Kendall Jenner and said server at Mercer Kitchen one night when Jenner asked for a cocktail and was denied her request. It's worth noting that she was underage at the time, so being denied is how it goes. But being told no is just not something that we can handle, is it? No, it's not. So she stormed out of the restaurant without paying her bill. Does that count as theft? I don't know. What's that actual charge? What's the charge for doing that? Tell me down below. Whatever it is, Kendall won't be worrying about the law because she did pay eventually. The server just had to chase her onto the street and request the money, which is when Jenner reportedly threw some cash in the server's face and carried on her merry way, bringing joy and smiles to the world. End of story. You're welcome. Number 8. Lindsay Lohan. Lindsay Lohan is known for her love of parties. Or rather, I think she's known for those parties not going particularly smoothly and she winds up somewhere she doesn't want to be. Sure, Lohan is making a lot of effort to recover, and I think she's had her fair share of shame from the rest of us. But it doesn't really help when you learn that when the party has worn out its welcome, it leaves us with a hungover Lohan, and that girl is mean. Recently, some of Lohan's staff members have confided that she often wakes up at noon at the earliest, which, hey, I think all of us would do that if we had the chance. But naturally, Lohan is always in a terrible mood due to the hangover she has, and often takes out her crabbiness on her employees. Number 7. Rihanna. I don't wish for this to be true, but if it's on the internet, it must be true. That's how that goes, right? Honestly, we all know that Rihanna has some attitude and doesn't really put up with idiots, but we also know that she is incredibly fun and funny and has been just the best at times. Unfortunately, there's always some bad with the good. One of Rihanna's alleged staff members has come forward to vouch for her apparent sassy side. She stated that Rihanna has been an absolute nightmare to work for a long time. She said that Riri makes all kinds of ridiculous demands, is always under the influence of one substance or another, and has a total disregard for basic manners. Apparently, she doesn't even bother speaking to her staff. An anonymous source said that Rihanna doesn't talk to any of the, as they put it, hired help. Apparently, Rihanna also falls asleep when she is getting her makeup done, but that one I want to hope is just because of her massive busy schedule. Coming in at number 6 today is Beyonce. This one is almost as hurtful, if not more hurtful, than finding out Rihanna can be a little crabby sometimes. Beyonce, the queen bee, apparently can be a bit of a diva. Now I'm gonna pause here to say, it's Beyonce. Of course she's a diva. Well, I'm sure most of us imagine her as a graceful angel blessing us all with her presence. Yeah, well, a source revealed that about 10 years ago while she was on a tour, All the local staff were instructed by Beyoncé's people to not look at her, speak to her, or approach her. The staff were actually told before the show that if Beyoncé was coming down the hall, you were to find an unlocked room and immediately go into it out of her presence. Which is just kind of hilarious, but also what the hell? But that ain't the end. Everything backstage had also had to be draped in linen, which then had to be smoothed out after she walked on it. And that part feels made up, but for some reason, I also believe it. Number 5, Madonna. She may be one of the most influential artists in pop music, but Madonna has a rep. I think someone somewhere probably knew she would be on a list like this, and maybe it was you. Ooh. Madonna has a huge team of people under her, and while in one instance you would have her backup dancers willing to get arrested for dancing provocatively in her shows in Toronto, you'd have way more instances of them just not being paid or not being paid in full, which has led her employees to sue her multiple times. She has fired or lost staff for taking time off, being upset about the crazy long hours they're expected to work, the fact that they don't get enough breaks, and for being required to be on call 24/7. On top of that, she's been sued multiple times for acting inappropriately with her staff, and a couple of years ago, an anonymous source revealed that when one of Madonna's dancers broke her arm during practice, instead of being concerned, Madonna threw a fit. Number 4, Lady Gaga. I know the Lady Gaga fans are many, and I know they are powerful, but alas, if your idol is kind of the worst sometimes, I am honor bound to talk about it. Sorry. Gaga's former assistant Jennifer O'Neill says that Lady Gaga has a, quote, big head, and that her demands became bigger and bigger once she started to get bigger. That same assistant was the one who eventually sued the artist for $400,000 in unpaid overtime, which was settled out of court. Not only did she not get paid what she fairly earned, but the assistant had discussed some of the expectations of the job once Gaga had gotten big. She had to handle around 20 bags of luggage at the same time, handle all the singer's communications, and she was on call at every moment of the day. According to O'Neill, she was by her side virtually 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That includes sleeping in the same bed with her because she did not sleep alone. And Jennifer wasn't even given breaks for food or sleep, so imagine how that worked out. Not very well. Number 3, James Corden. From what I know, Late Late Show host James Corden being exposed as kinda just the worst is a more recent revelation. There have been a few different stories that I've heard of, including a little back and forth with Sir Patrick Stewart at an awards show a few years back, which you can watch on YouTube, and I suggest you do because it's kind of really awkward and really funny, but the story I hear the most involves James being a menace to the service industry. According to Balthazar owner Keith McNally, who took to Instagram on October 17, 2022 to publicly ban James Corden from the New York City restaurant, James Corden is, quote, a talented comic but a tiny cretin of a man. Which is just hilarious. In his Instagram post, he detailed multiple incidents in which James was rude, dismissive, or nasty to the restaurant staff, calling the late night host the worst he'd had in 25 years of hospitality service. That's coming from a guy who runs a New York restaurant, so you know he's seen some things. But even though McNally forgave Corden and lifted his ban, it got people talking. Like former Spice Girl Mel B, who dubbed James Corden the biggest D-head in Hollywood while on Britain's The Big Narsty Show on December 2nd, 2022. According to her, James feels people are beneath him. She said, quote, whether it be production, camera guys, sound lighting, we all work for the same thing, so you should always be nice. And he hasn't been very nice. Number 2, Vin Diesel. If you think having a co-producer credit on the absolutely massive Fast and Furious franchise would go to someone's head, well, you'd be correct. Look at you go. Armed with his producer credit, Vin Diesel has been able to get away with a lot of tardiness on his Fast and the Furious sets. With the power to make decisions about pretty much everything, Vin has apparently peed off quite a few cast and crew members on his films. Apparently, he ain't a fan of 7 AM Monday morning call times for set, which is kind of understandable. So, the whole production was forced to make it 10 AM just for him. These are 12-hour days, usually more actually, just so we understand what's going on here. But even with that adjusted time schedule, Vin was often 30 minutes to an hour late to shoot scenes. And it wasn't because he was late to set, it's because he was chilling in his 1,100 square foot, 2-story, custom-built gold trailer with $70,000 worth of technology, round-the-clock video surveillance, and granite countertops in the kitchen. I'm actually not joking, and that trailer does indeed follow him around the world to sets. It's actually kinda cool, not gonna lie, but not cool enough to hold up entire productions. Vin also makes very big decisions about what will and won't happen on the films, and he would tick off a lot of people doing that. One of them famously being The Rock, who made a post about it online. Now, The Rock regrets that action, but as he said in a later interview, quote, "Yet, interestingly enough, it was as if every single crew member found their way to me and either quietly thanked me or sent me a note. But yeah, it wasn't my best day sharing that." And finally, in at number 1, Alec Baldwin. No, I'm not going to be talking about the fact that Alec Baldwin accidentally took someone's life on set, but I will be talking about how the actor has been accused of belittling customer service workers. In May 2023, a server accused Alec of calling her a peasant. The anonymous waitress told Page 6, "I was going to feed the head of the table, but that's who Alec was talking to. So I go up to him and I say, 'I'm sorry sir, but we're going to have servers walking through the tables here in a minute.' Which is when Alec asked her, 'So when is it a good time to talk to my friends, huh?' Adding to that, he was very agitated and asked her, quote, 'Do I have to explain it to you?' After replying that she didn't need Alec to explain a damn thing, Alec allegedly said, 'Well then, step aside.' Apparently, afterwards, her co-workers informed her that Alec had called her a peasant as she continued on doing her job. Now, there are also multiple clips online of Alec getting pretty aggressive with paparazzi, which is okay, and there was a time he got pretty fed up when cycling through New York. Baldwin has been known for his anger issues for quite some time now, so yeah.
Number 10. Kim and Drake. Drake is a famous Canadian rap artist, and I've heard he's got a pretty stellar candy room in his mansion. Sounds pretty fun. Recently, Drake dropped a song called Search and Rescue, now available on Spotify. Halfway through the track, the music cuts out and a voice clip of Kim Kardashian and her mother Kris from an episode of Keeping Up with the Kardashians begins to play. The intention was to throw shade at Kanye West, whom Drake has had problems with in the past, but it only added fuel to the rumor fire surrounding his alleged affair with Kim during her marriage to Kanye. In the clip, Kim says, "I don't come this far just to not be happy. Remember that." On top of this, many fans have brought up Drake's lyrics from his song In My Feelings, claiming that Kiki is actually Kim herself. Hardcore internet sleuths sifted through his lyrics and discovered that if you take the directions that he's rapping about in the song and start at Drake's house in LA, it actually takes you directly to Kim's front gate. Coincidence? I think not. Number 9. Kendall and Bad Bunny. Not long ago, Kendall Jenner was dating a basketball player from the Phoenix Suns named Devin Booker. Devin and Kendall were together for over 2 years, first getting together in 2020. However, in 2022, the couple had a quiet breakup that left fans wondering what really happened to end what seemed to be such a strong relationship. Well, it turns out there may have been another man. Or a bunny, if you will. I'm just gonna show myself out, jeez. Bad Bunny is a popular rapper, singer, songwriter, and now actor, after briefly starring in last year's action comedy Bullet Train as the Wolf. In March of this year, Bunny seemingly dissed Kendall's ex, Booker, in his track Coco Chanel. He rapped, "The sun in Puerto Rico is hotter than in Phoenix." And a few weeks following the song's release, Kendall introduced Bunny to her horse, Arizona, in California. Oh, that's so cute, you named it Arizona. The couple are officially together. Let's see how long this one lasts. Number 8. Devin Booker and Kendall Jenner. Jenner and Booker were first spotted together on a double date with other people. At the time, Booker was dating Kylie's best friend, Jordyn Woods, and Jenner was dating Ben Simmons. In February of 2019, it was revealed that Booker and Woods' relationship had fizzled out. But not long after the announcement, Woods was caught kissing Khloe Kardashian's boo, Tristan Thompson. Yeah, this is just gonna be very messy. Kardashian and Thompson split, and with that, Kylie's friendship with Woods was gone. But what that meant was that Kendall and Devin were free to do whatever they wanted. It was confirmed they were seeing each other after multiple sources caught them road tripping together over the summer of 2020. They were together for roughly 2 years before calling it quits in 2022, taking a break to figure out if their future together was actually meant to be. They got back together, but ultimately ended things on good terms in November of that same year. Number 7. Kylie Jenner and Timothée Chalamet. Chalamet. Timothée Chalamet is slowly building his acting repertoire in Hollywood, and so far it's going pretty well. He starred as the lead in Dune, and he was recently announced to be playing a young Willy Wonka in a TV series chronicling Wonka's rise to glory. It was also recently announced that he was seeing Kylie Jenner like every week. While the announcement of them being a couple is a little out of nowhere, the fact is that Kylie has been co-parenting her 2 kids with Travis Scott, and Travis did not appreciate the secrecy. He said that he felt blindsided by the announcement, but he respects her decision to move on romantically. This relationship isn't all that recent, however, it was reported that the two may have shared a private moment or two during her marriage to Scott. Neither party have confirmed nor denied the rumors, but just seeing these two in a picture together makes us think that there is no way this relationship is that fresh, right? Number 6. Kim Kardashian and Pete Davidson. Pete Davidson was the youngest cast member on Saturday Night Live when he was hired at the age of 20. He was the youngest cast member of all time. In 2021, Kim Kardashian hosted an episode of the show and starred in a sketch with Pete, parodying A Whole New World from the Disney film Aladdin. The sketch was okay, but apparently sitting that close to each other all week really got them going. At the time, Kim was still involved with rapper Kanye West, who actually attended the live show, but apparently stormed out of the room following her scene with Pete. Apparently, Kanye had been present at rehearsals all week, and he remembers regularly seeing Pete and Kim smiling and laughing together while he was being ignored entirely. Kim and Kanye began their divorce process not long after that show, and simultaneously, Pete announced that him and Kim were official. They were only together for about a year, but it was enough time for Pete to get close to her family and even get a tattoo of her kid's name on his arm, which sounds hardcore, but he has like a million tattoos, so it's probably jammed between like a skull and an MGK portrait. Who knows?
Number 5. Jamie Foxx. Stars witnessed Jamie Foxx get kicked out of a restaurant while he was assaulted at his table. Jamie was reportedly having dinner at the restaurant when a customer approached his table and complained to him that him and his friends were being too loud. When the group proceeded to not care, the person yelled, "You don't want to mess with me? I'm from New York." Jamie then fired back, "F you, I'm from Oakland." The person then began to charge at Foxx, and some witnesses even said Foxx began to fight back and took the person down. Both parties were eventually thrown out of the restaurant for their bad behavior. Number 4, we have Dennis Rodman. Charles Oakley had to once kick Dennis Rodman out of his steakhouse for eating off of other people's plates. Charles said he agreed to meet with Dennis at his steakhouse after the two made an appearance at a Miami event together. However, before he arrived, he got a phone call from his manager telling him to get to the location as fast as he could. When Charles arrived to the location, he looked through the window and saw Dennis eating, then moving to the next table and eating some more. Charles went straight up to Dennis and asked him what he was doing. Dennis responded by saying, "I'm relaxing and trying to entertain." Now, Charles clearly wasn't impressed with the star's action and proceeded to kick him out of the restaurant. He then told the basketball star to never come near him again, destroying their relationship off the court. What Dennis thought was a joke clearly wasn't, and he should have known better than to do that in a high-class restaurant. At number 3, we have Nicolas Cage. Nicolas Cage was once kicked out of a restaurant after being mistaken for being homeless. Now, the Oscar winner was at the Laurie Prime Rib restaurant located in Las Vegas. In a video later obtained by The Sun, you could see the star sitting on the restaurant sofa in a drunken state. Now, it's easy to see why the restaurant would have mistaken the star first as being homeless, considering he was wearing cheetah print PJ pants and he had no shoes on. While waiting for the table, he was acting rowdy and proceeded to get into an altercation with the staff. Even after being escorted out of the restaurant, Cage continued to argue with the staff while trying to go back in. While Nicholas did ignore to comment about the incident, he did say his work did help him avoid getting into situations like the one at the restaurant. Number 2, Jenna Fisher. Now, Jenna actually wasn't kicked out of a restaurant in real life. However, her character Pam in the comedy show The Office was. It all started when Jenna decided to tweet a photo of her pictured in front of the restaurant where she asked if she should try to go in. Pam in the show was so tipsy she continually began to fall out of her chair and displayed some pretty rude behavior. It got to the point that the restaurant owner stated she was no longer welcome back at the restaurant chain ever again. Number 1, James Corden. Recently, James Corden was banned from a famous New York City restaurant after being a jerk to waitstaff. The owner of the restaurant, Keith McNally, posted to his Instagram to state the comedian was effectively banned from his famous bistro after he became one of the most abusive customers to enter location since it opened. So you're probably wondering what led James to be banned. Well, Keith detailed 2 examples of how the star misconducted himself at the restaurant, which led to his ban being indefinite. The first example is he was extremely nasty to servers, demanded drinks to come to his table, and that they be comped altogether. The second incident took place when James' wife, Julia, received her egg yolk omelet only to find that there was some egg whites mixed in. The omelet was then remade and brought back to the table with fries instead of a salad. James then continued to yell at the staff that they didn't know how to do their jobs. Eventually, the situation was resolved when the floor manager decided to step in. James has yet responded to Keith's allegation. However, if one thing's clear, he definitely won't be eating at this location for a while. At number 10, we have Ariana Grande. Ariana once got banned for life from a donut shop after the star was caught on camera licking a bunch of donuts she didn't pay for. In 2015, the star entered the Wolfie Donut shop with some friends. When the clerk went to the back room, Grande would proceed to lick some donuts that she didn't pay for. Later, the owner of the restaurant watched the video and would end up banning her from the location for life. They would also go to try press charges against her. However, nothing ever went through with the charges because the incident would have only cost $4 for the donut she didn't pay for. The owner, however, was very upset with Ariana and said not even an apology from Grande would have caused him to change his mind. Unfortunately for Grande, the incident would have caused her chance to be booked to play a gig at the White House, and she would later go on to make jokes about herself for the incident. Number 9, Britney Spears. After having a pretty public mental breakdown, Britney Spears made a spectacle of smearing food across her face in a restaurant. Britney was described as acting weird by fellow staff and celebrities present at the time of the incident. While sitting at her table, Britney started to play dress up with her dinner. While many were left feeling concerned and disturbed by the incident, the staff were quick to check on the star and escorted her from her table and out of the restaurant. Britney would then be later informed that she was no longer welcome in the restaurant or on the hotel grounds itself. Now, her behavior herself wasn't a sin or rude behavior, however, how she portrayed herself in public and how she never issued an apology for her actions definitely made some people raise some eyebrows. Luckily for Britney, after she cleaned herself up, the restaurant lifted its ban of 2 years and she was later pictured celebrating her 28th birthday. Now, if you're enjoying this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. At number 8, we have Ruby Rose. Ruby Rose was once kicked out of a bar in New Orleans for allegedly throwing fries at the waitstaff. The star was described by the owner as being a child because she threw a big tantrum in the middle of the restaurant. After she threw the tantrum, the staff booted her from the establishment, where she then started to curse out the bartender and even began to throw food at the staff member. Ruby later would write a Facebook post where she didn't deny throwing the fries. However, she did explain why she did it. Ruby claimed that they waited 60 minutes for the fries and over 90 minutes for food that never showed up to the table. When they asked the bartender what was taking so long, he offered Ruby and her table some free drinks. When the star told the bartender no thanks, she said he started to mock her and her friends. At one point, the bartender even told her to go call her sponsor, and that's when the star reacted to throwing a french fry at the staff member. Ruby would later say she regretted how she acted and maybe she wouldn't throw french fries again. But maybe next time the bartender wouldn't be so insensitive. Number 7, Stuart Raw. Not only has Stuart been kicked out of Nobu, but he's also been banned from the popular Japanese restaurant. Back in 2012, the New York Post reported that the billionaire was banned for life as he tried to bribe people to give up their table for him. He then continued to call the manager Sharon, demeaning names, while he was escorted out of the restaurant. However, the drama wouldn't stop there. Stuart would then send an email to Nobu co-owner Drew demanding that the manager be fired and seat some big name celebrities such as Leonardo DiCaprio, Alicia Keys, and Mark Wahlberg. This also isn't the first time the billionaire hasn't played well with others, as the star has allegedly started fights with Tiger Woods and has even been thrown out of a celebrity Hamptons party after being labeled a stalker. If we learned anything from Stuart, it's that just because because you have money, it doesn't give you the right for a free pass. Number 6. Jamie Kennedy. Jamie Kennedy once helped save a woman in a car crash after getting kicked out of a restaurant in Houston. After performing at the Houston Improv, the comedian decided to head over to the Yard House for some drinks with his friends. However, the management staff at the Yard House had to ask Jamie to leave and proceeded to escort the star out of the building for using profanity with the waitstaff. After leaving the establishment without a fight, Jamie decided he wasn't ready to go home for the night and proceeded to head to a different bar. Around 2:40 a.m., when the star was walking to the next location, a car flipped over up onto the sidewalk where they were walking just 10 feet in front of them. Jamie and his entourage then proceeded to help the two women out of the smoking car.
Number 5. Victoria. Victoria Valero has been Kylie's close personal assistant since 2015, but the pair go back to 2014 when she was interning as a personal assistant for Kylie's mother, Kris. After gaining the family's trust, she was hired as Kylie's house manager at first, but soon after became her personal assistant. Herself and Jenner became very close over the years, and Victoria was even present at the secret birth of Kylie's daughter, Stormi. Now you would think with being so close to the family through thick and thin that she would want to stick around, right? Well, all good things must come to an end, as Victoria decided to quit in 2019. Many fans allege that she had just quit her job to focus on becoming an Instagram influencer, but that was far from her real reason for leaving. Being in that family means seeing a lot of stuff and doing a lot of stuff, and Victoria was basically in charge of scheduling Kylie's life, booking appointments, meetings, massages, all of this stressful enough, basically being a 24/7 gig, but the job was also very degrading, with Kylie having Victoria even pull out a stool once and set it up outside so that Kylie could get out of her car smoother. I think anyone in their right mind would want to get out of that job as quickly as possible. Number 4. Paid in exposure. When Andre Turbia, a very famous YouTube animator and content creator, was asked to work with Kylie Jenner, he thought that his life would change forever. He was under the impression that the collaboration would grant him a huge amount of money, possibly a guest spot on her reality TV show, and maybe some shoutouts online via Instagram and Twitter. However, when Andre brought up the topic of his compensations to Jenner, she responded with, "Oh, the company doesn't actually have a budget right now to pay you, so we're just gonna have to pay you in exposure." Like, okay, that's cool. You can't cook exposure in a frying pan and eat it for dinner though, and I'm pretty sure it's not currency accepted at any gas stations or banks that I know of. And of course, by exposure, she meant that Andre's name was going to be printed as small as possible underneath her content. Andre did what anyone in their right mind would do in that situation and refused to work with her, telling her to take her exposure and shove it where the sun don't shine. Number 3, GoFundMe. In March 2021, Kylie, oh look, she's back again, shared an Instagram post asking for prayers for one of her makeup artist named Samuel Rhoda. The post redirected fans to a GoFundMe page where they were asking to donate money for covering his medical bills for an upcoming surgery. That's right, the woman made a feature on Forbes' top 60 self-made women and was asking her fans to give over the goods. So why would she not just use some of her billions of dollars to cover the bills herself? Well, she went online to claim that her and Sam didn't actually know each other personally, but she had worked with him a few years ago and thought that he was a sweetheart. Supposedly, her current makeup artist had shared a post about Samuel's accident, which included a link to a GoFundMe campaign created by his family. She went on to let fans know that she herself donated like $5,000. Okay, sure, that's a ton of money for us, but for Jenner, that's like $5. So something tells me the surgery is going to be a little bit more than that. This is just another instance proving that Kylie is the absolute worst. Number 2, Forbes flub. Oh, I'm sorry, was that not enough proof for you that Kylie sucks? Well, hey, here you go. As mentioned earlier in this list, Kylie Jenner made the cover of Forbes magazine in 2019 as the youngest self-made billionaire ever, following the successful partnership between her cosmetic brand, named after herself, and Ulta, a beauty salon company. Well, it turned out that wasn't really the case. Jenner allegedly sold half of her cosmetics company, Kylie Cosmetics, to beauty giant Coty in a deal worth $1.2 billion. Now, this was huge and considered one of the greatest celebrity cash outs of all time. But the first rule of being a famous person is, if you can help it, try not to lie. Especially to like Forbes magazine, who did some digging and revealed that Jenner was actually inflating the size and profit margins of her business. It turned out the cosmetic brand was on a much smaller scale than originally thought, as it was uncovered Jenner only actually made around $314 million after taxes for her company. Several financial advisors backed up the story, claiming that they were berated into complying with the lie and made to help maintain the members for publicity's sake. The mother of the family, Kris, even played a key role in gathering false business documents to send to Forbes, making her company appear to be in the billions. Remember, if you can't figure something out, just ask mom. And number 1, the lawsuit. In March of 2021, a lawsuit was arranged by several of Kim's former employees. The plaintiffs claim Kardashian West failed to pay overtime, cover expenses, or provide any legally mandated breaks, which, like, hey, super illegal. They also never received actual pay stubs or any proof of payment whatsoever. They were also made to purchase everything out of pocket, and one plaintiff was even fired on the spot for simply addressing his concerns to Kim. And when the rest were eventually let go, they received no type of severance package or pay of any kind. It was also uncovered that Kim would keep 10% of all of their earnings for tax purposes, but failed to report their employment to tax authorities. Kim's argument was that she could not be held responsible for any of this, as most of her employees were supposedly hired and paid by a third-party company, meaning that she herself was not technically their direct employer and therefore could not be liable. Kim maintains that she paid people on time and that they were suing the wrong person, but if that were the case, maybe Kardashian would have used some of her high status and influence long ago to make things work for her staff so that, hey, maybe she wouldn't be getting sued right now. Something to think about, Kim.
Kicking off the list at number 10 is Meghan Markle. Meghan Markle is more than a little divisive, and she has been for a hot minute. Ever since her and Prince Harry became a thing, people love to dish out how she's apparently incredibly mean to those who work under her. Interestingly though, it's usually those who don't like her that seem to bring these issues forward, but nonetheless, there have been multiple reports of Meghan treating royal staffers less than appropriately. According to one story, the former actor was tasting food for her wedding and she had reportedly requested a quote, macrobiotic alliterative option. Now, I don't even know what those words mean, but apparently it means no eggs, because she got very upset when she thought there was egg in the dish, and well, there wasn't. According to Vanity Fair's royal reporter, Katie Nichol, quote, she said, no, I can taste it. I can taste there's an egg in this dish. And I think there was a bit of an upset when suddenly the Queen walked in and she just quietly took Meghan to the side and said, Meghan, in this family, we don't speak to people like that. There were also a series of leaked emails written by Jason Nauf, a former palace communications secretary, that were sent to Prince William's private secretary with the names of 2 bullied staffers subbed for X and Y. In the email, Nauf wrote, the Duchess seems intent on always having someone in her sights. She is bullying Y and seeking to undermine her confidence. We have had report after report from people who have witnessed unacceptable behavior towards Y. Number 9, Anna Wintour. You ever seen The Devil Wears Prada? If you haven't, well, be better and go watch it. The main villain of the film and the book it's based on is the assistant protagonist boss, Miranda Priestley, the powerful New York City-based editor-in-chief of the fictional fashion magazine Runway, who of course is fictional. But the author of the book, Lauren Weisberger, worked as a junior assistant for Anna Wintour, a New York City-based editor-in-chief of Vogue magazine since 1988, and that is not fictional. What does that tell us? Lauren has since said that the list of demands made by the editor in the novel is made up of both fact and fiction, with the factual parts being inspired by what she endured early in her career under Wintour. There is a whole book semi-based on the way that this woman would treat her assistants and how it completely changes a person for the worst. So that's all you need to know, really. Number 8, Katie Couric. Back in 2021, journalist and presenter Katie Couric published a memoir called Going There, which was supposed to be all fun and gossipy, but it was decidedly not that. She described in the book how she froze out female colleagues at NBC to protect her quote, turf at the top, and how she loved getting under rival female colleagues' skin. According to a TV industry insider, Couric contributed to the infamous toxicity at NBC and was part of a culture that wasn't supportive of women. In her book, she talks down on women from Martha Stewart to Diane Sawyer and Deborah Norville, and it's all for the ambition they show, which is pretty similar to Katie's own ambition. Those who have worked for Couric say that her memoir is par for the course with the celeb. According to an anonymous senior news producer, quote, she gives fresh meaning to that old saying, there's a special place in hell for women who don't help other women. Another female co-worker whose feelings she hurt is Ashley Banfield, who staffers said was humiliated by Couric at the 2000 Olympics and treated like a child. Corey even admits in her book that she gave Banfield the cold shoulder because helping her would have been, quote, self-sabotage. There's also the fact that she kind of excused the actions of Matt Lauer, but that's a whole separate thing all of its own. Number 7. Naomi Campbell. The legendary model Naomi Campbell changed the fashion industry and is still one of the most important supermodels ever. If you think that means she must be nice, then let me introduce you to the way the world works. Naomi has been so bad that it's led to actual legal action, multiple times. As some examples, in 2000, Campbell was sued by her assistant Georgina Galanis as apparently the model blunt forced Galanis with a telephone in a hotel room and then threatened to push her out of a moving car. In 2004, Campbell supposedly introduced her personal assistant, Amy Castellado, to her forehead with force and then bit her lip and yanked her to the floor while screaming, "You effing worthless bee." I can't actually say the words, but I think you can infer what I'm trying to say here. And then in 2006, Campbell allegedly pulled another blunt force on her housekeeper, Anna Scolavino, with a mobile phone. That same year, Campbell is said to have open palmed her personal assistant, Amanda Brack, and struck her on the head, again with a mobile phone. So, what I'm saying is that 1, she is literally physical with people, and 2, her choice of tool for these interactions seems to always be some form of communication device. So, if you ever see Naomi Campbell with a phone or like a walkie-talkie or something, just be on guard, okay? Because she's vicious with that. She's vicious with it, that's all I'm saying. All jokes aside though, between 1998 and 2010, 8 employees have accused the supermodel of getting physical with them, and I don't think we should just let that off lightly. Number 6. Victoria Beckham. If you thought that the Spice Girl, who went by Posh Spice, wasn't going to be at least a little problematic with her staff, well, I don't know, I guess you were wrong, huh? Look at that. A former nanny of fashion designer and former Spice Girl Victoria Beckham has revealed that Victoria expects all the nannies of her household to answer to the name Joe, even if their name is not Joe. So, if you're working with Naomi Campbell, you get dinged up by the wonders of modern communication, but if you're working for Victoria Beckham and her kids, your individual identity is at stake. So pick your poison, I guess. Remind me to never work for a celebrity, ever. Apparently, this is because the very first nanny of Beckham's daughter Harper was named Joe, and I suppose this rule is to not confuse the kid? But you're telling me that your kid can't understand the basic principles of jobs and employee turnover? I don't know. Seems a little suspicious. Number 5. Tiger Woods. We all know that the moral standpoint of our friend Tiger Woods here is a little wavering, you know? Cheating on his wife aside, the guy is also apparently just not the nicest. Hank Haney, Tiger's former coach, with whom he had a pretty big falling out, gave out a few details about Woods' personality and etiquette around others. The angry former coach is obviously not on the greatest terms with the golfer, but he also has stated that Woods was a total jerk. He would force everyone he was dining with to leave the restaurant when he felt like it, whether they were ready or not, whether they were done eating or not. Haney also said that Woods had a reputation for tipping notoriously small amounts after eating out, and sometimes he wouldn't even tip at all. If you have Tiger Woods money and you do not tip, do not talk to me. Then again, you probably wouldn't be talking to me if you had that kind of money anyways, but grr, Tiger Woods, bad. Number 4. Lea Michele. Lea Michele was the closest thing to a lead on Glee, and she has become pretty well known recently for being an absolute nightmare to work with, as well as being outed as an itty bitty smidge bit racist by her co-stars and some crew of the show where she made some people's lives apparently living hell. In a statement from one of her co-stars, Heather Morris, she wrote, quote, "Let me be very clear, hate is a disease in America that we are trying to cure, so I would never wish for hate to be spread on anyone else." With that being said, was she unpleasant to work with? Very much so. For Lea to treat others with the disrespect that she did for as long as she did, I believe she should be called out. So, we know she's made set life pretty hellish, but that extends to the service industry as well. It's been alleged that Michelle verbally accosted a waiter once by chastising him and telling him he had no idea what he was talking about. Now first of all, anyone who says that at a restaurant to a waiter is probably the one who doesn't know what they're talking about. But there we go. Michelle reportedly made fun of him when he tried to explain the ingredients in the dish, and then complained about him to more than one manager. More than that though, Michelle was actually dining with her family and reportedly sent her father to knock on the kitchen window to see when the food was coming. Which is just so embarrassing. I couldn't do that. Nah. Number 3, J-Lo. Jennifer Lopez has been known, other than her marriages, for being relatively hard to work with. Among other incidents, J-Lo has been accused of getting a hotel maid fired for asking for her autograph. She's been rude to a flight attendant and put loads of pressure on her personal assistant, who was expected to do anything she needed you to do at the minute, whether that was cooking, cleaning, or scheduling. Which sounds like an assistant's job, but meh. Jenny has an infamous list of requirements for her staff as well. Back in 2012, it was suggested that the singer banned the people working on her new San Fernando Valley, California home from talking to or making eye contact with her. Heather Morris, who we talked about for Lea Michele, also used to be a backup dancer for J-Lo and claimed that after 8 hours of hoofing for a spot on the tour, Lopez asked all the dancers to raise their hands if they were Virgos, and then sent all those Virgos back home. Which is mean to Virgos. I'm a Virgo, that's rude. Leaked documents also reveal that Lopez's spaces, like hotels and all that jazz, must be painted entirely white with white linens, drapes, furniture, and even candles. Which is what? And also lastly, Jenny from the block apparently makes her assistant talk to waitstaff and airline employees instead of just talking to them directly. Jenny was from the block, but she's not anymore. Coming in at number 2 today is Usher. Before Usher was 21, he reportedly tried to use his celebrity status to force a bartender to sell to him, which was indeed refused. Now, we can try and blame that on a famous, rich, young person trying to flaunt his newly acquired fame. That is somewhat excusable, not really, but somewhat. But then again, it's also been stated that he has returned to the exact same establishment years later, and this time he left behind his autograph instead of a tip. And that makes me want to cry to the heavens and ask who gave this man the audacity. On top of that, several people on Reddit have claimed that Usher is just a rude customer. In a thread dedicated to exposing servers' experiences with celebrities, one Reddit user claimed that the R&B star refused to order for himself or speak to staff directly. The user also claimed that Usher didn't tip them, not even an autograph this time. Wow, crazy. And finally, in at number 1, it's Naomi Campbell. The legendary model Naomi Campbell changed the fashion industry and is still one of the most important supermodels ever. If you think that means she must be nice, then let me introduce you to the way the world works. Naomi has been so bad that it's led to actual legal action, multiple times. As some examples, in 2000, Campbell was sued by her assistant Georgina Galanis, as apparently the model blunt forced Galanis with a telephone in a motel room and then threatened to push her out of a moving car. That's pretty bad on its own. But then again, in 2004, Campbell supposedly introduced her personal assistant, Ami Castaldo, to her forehead with force, and then bit her lip and yanked her to the floor while screaming, words I'm not allowed to say online. And then in 2006, Campbell allegedly pulled another blunt force on her housekeeper this time, Anna Scalavino, with a mobile phone. That same year, Campbell is said to have open palmed her assistant, Amanda Brack, and struck her on the head again with a mobile phone. So basically, if you ever see Naomi Campbell with a phone, or a walkie-talkie, or a BlackBerry, or like, I don't know, a telegram, you gotta be on guard because she's coming for you. Like she attacks with that stuff. All jokes aside though, between 1998 and 2010, 8 employees have accused the supermodel of getting physical with them, and I don't think we should just let that off lightly at all. Not cool.